everyone. So happy to have you here with me on the Real Expat Talk. Let me try and get Isabel to join us. I'm around, it works. We had some technical issues before, but I know it's going to be working today. Yes! We made it.
Hi!
Hi,
Can you
nice
hear
to
me?
meet you.
Yay! Sorry about that. I did it. This is my very first time doing an Instagram live, and I had no idea that it was working only on the phone, so I was on my laptop.
All good, all good. That's what we're here for. We know how it works. So for those of you joining us live, I am Gal. I'm the co-founder of Smoothitative. And today on our Real Expat Talk, I'm with Isabel. And I'm really excited about that because I always love our Fridays for that. We meet women from all over the world to inspire others, empower others, make them sure that they do this crazy thing called expat life. And so first of all, Isabel, thank you for being here with me. This is a great pleasure. And would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yes, sure. And it's my pleasure to be here. I love talking about with other expats and people who want to be expats. So it's so good to be here with you and everybody. So about me, do you want a short introduction or a longer one?
We have all the time that we need.
I start with a short one and then we can expand around it if you have any questions. So right now I'm actually calling you. I'm here from California in the San Francisco Bay Area. We can see San Francisco from my window on this side. I actually French. You can tell by my accent and my name. So I was born in a small hamlet in the south of France with only 2 or 3 houses. So really like in the countryside. So it's been an interesting journey. I'm happy to share later if that's of interest, the journey from that to making my
big American dream.
Living, I've lived in France and then 4 other different countries. And I've moved because it was one of my dreams to do that. So I've lived in Switzerland, the UK, Canada, and the US. Now the US for 15 years. And I started my own business about 10 years ago, doing what I love and fulfilling my purpose in the world, which is help professionals and leaders do the work they are meant to do in the world. So actualize their own purpose so they can use their own gift and makes a difference with their gift, talents, and passions.
Oh, that's amazing. So we'll get into your business in a moment. I'd love to know more about it. But I want to take you back. You said that, so you're from a little countryside place in France and you wanted to live abroad. Do you remember what was this thing, that fire in you to say, like, I want to go and live abroad?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's actually started when I'm trying to think, when I was in my early 20s. So first, I had moved to Paris to study Paris. So for me, that was already a big expansion. And then I studied archaeology and I ended up having an opportunity to go to Switzerland for 2 months to do some excavations. So I was doing excavation in caves. Okay. So I went to Switzerland for 2 months, which is a country close to France, but it's a different country with a different culture. And I remember driving there by myself. So I was driving and entering in Switzerland on the highway and seeing all the signs were different, and I can tell it was a different country. And from that point on, I was fascinated. Wow, how people eat, how do they see the world, what are the signs, how do they drive on the street, like every single thing. I was just fascinated. And then I realized, oh my God, 2 months is not enough. I really want to live in a different country for more like several years, 1 year, several years, fully immerse myself and understand what it is to live from different lenses and point of view in the
That's amazing. And so you really went for it. Did you do any preparation before the first time, or just like took the car and drove to Switzerland?
Oh, to Switzerland, what happened? No, there was some preparation. So what happened is that actually I was on in a cave. It's really interesting. I was in a cave in the south of France doing an excavation with other people, other archaeologists, you know. And I remember someone saying, you know, he's from Switzerland and he's looking from this summer from other people who can work there for a few months. I was like, wow, that sounds interesting. Especially when you were paid in Switzerland, you paid pretty well, you know. It was still the francs in France, so you were paid also very well. And what happened, so I said I was interested, and so I did the process and I was accepted to went for 2 months there. So I had already a job which was helping, and then I actually reached out to people, and in all the cases for me, I reached out to people there in Switzerland, you know, the people were hiring me if they have tips, and especially the lodging situation was important. So I had to find some people help me and say, yeah, you can stay. We have a bedroom there. So I had contacted them for the phone and prepared that and took, and the room, I think it was unfurnished. So I had to bring some stuff. So in my car, you know, I had prepared that ahead of time. I had put in my car all the stuff and planned everything. And then I went knowing that I had a place to land and people were waiting for me, which was really helpful.
Oh, that's really helpful, I'm sure. Like, part of moving abroad is this logistics, like finding a job and knowing you can do this, knowing where you're going to stay, if this is the first couple of nights or a couple of weeks, or in your case, like you knew for the next 2 months. And so it's part of it. So it's an amazing story. And I want to fast forward you to the moment that you decided, okay, now I'm going big time. I'm going to the US.
Yeah, so the way it happened, if I can tell you a little bit first, Canada, I stayed 6 years. So 6 years in Canada before moving to the US, and I became Canadian as well by staying. So what happened is after Switzerland, I was like, yeah, 2 months is too short. Like, I was like, it's great. So like, I want the full, like,
I want to get the full experience.
The full experience. And I was in Paris at the time. I was in Paris, and I had really this intention of moving abroad. And I won't go necessarily in the whole story because there are stuff, but I had the intention of Canada, Australia. At the time, I was with my past boyfriend, and we both decided, okay, Canada, Australia, okay. And I did research, and I got an amazing opportunity that came my way that I think I manifested. It's another story how you can actually manifest what you want when it's really your heart desire and you take the steps. I really believe the universe can conspire you to make it happen. And I had this amazing opportunity that fell into my lap to spend 1 or 2 years in Montreal, Canada, with a job fully paid and all of that. So I did that first. I did that first. And then I ended up staying 6 years in Montreal. You know, in which it was 1-2 years. I ended up becoming Canadian and staying 6 years. And when I was in Montreal, I realized from the very beginning, my ultimate dream was the US. And I was not always admitting that to myself, but that was what I wanted. And I remember being in Quebec, so in Montreal, meeting people. I was working in tech at the time and meeting a lot of people who are living in San Francisco or the Silicon Valley. And I was like, oh my God, this is, you know, again, connecting to my heart desire. What is your heart wanting? You know, truly wanting. And that's really what I wanted. So for 1 or 2 years, and intentionally, I did a lot. You know, I prepared to become Canadian. I know if I was Canadian in terms of visa situation, because you have to look at that. The visa situation, especially if it's outside of you, depending on where you are, if it's outside of Europe, if you are European, I don't know. But so I prepared for that, what kind of visa are possible, and strategize that. And I knew by being Canadian, it would be easier. And then to have a working visa in the US. And then I went to different conferences and ended up applying for jobs in tech. So for Yahoo, Google, Microsoft, and all of these things. And long story short, by doing all of that, I ended up being hired by Yahoo. And they paid, you know, for me for the relocation to move to San Francisco Bay Area. So this is how it happened.
That's amazing. And I want to touch upon 2 things before I will ask you another question. my head goes like, whoo, so many things. But you said something amazing, is that when your heart wants something, when you really want something, you find manifesting is one of the things, but I think you find solutions. Like if you really want something, you always find solutions because things are possible. We tend to look for the problems when we don't 100% want it. Like I think like when we really want it, when our heart wants something, we look for a solution, and especially we don't take no for an answer. Because even if things don't go as planned, well, we still want it, so we push forward to find another solution. And then the universe, as you said, like is bringing us the good opportunities to actually do the things.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with you both. Especially when it's, I feel like you really have to check, is that your true heart desire or is that your ego speaking? Like, oh, it would be nice on my resume versus, oh no, I don't know why, but I'm being called to do that. And this country or this place in particular is activating something in my soul and my heart. And then from that place, taking inspired action, what you feel called to, is really important. And then knowing that you'll be supported. And it's, it doesn't mean that there is a no, that maybe this is not that exact door. Maybe there is another door that is open for you.
Yeah, that's what we say here on Smoothie Day all the time. If you know why you're doing a certain thing, and if you know, is it really yours, your reason to move abroad, then you find solutions because, and that goes like straight to my next question. So you moved quite a lot, and it sounds really, really good. And I'm sure that people on the other side of their phones listening to us right now telling themselves, yeah, but she got the job and they paid for it. So and she had an apartment. So everything must have been perfect. And I want to ask you, was everything perfect or were there any challenges along your way?
Yeah, that was not definitely perfect. So I don't want people to imagine, oh, it was easy for her and all that stuff. So they were definitely challenging along the way. I'm thinking there are different ones depending on the countries, but I remember when the US in particular, I moved there by myself. So when I was in Montreal, my boyfriend at the time followed me. So then it was easier, but then we broke up in Montreal. And so, and I was feeling quite lonely at the time. I was also doing my own personal growth work, and now, I was in my life, there was aspect of myself where I was trying to find myself. So I ended up moving there by myself and feeling quite lonely after arriving there and feeling super lonely. And the first few months, even if I had coworkers, but I was not really sharing what's going on intimately and personally in me. At work, you present often a persona, but you don't really share the stuff. And I remember the first few months outside of work, I was just, and I remember calling my therapist. So I had a therapist I was working with in Montreal, and we were doing a session. I asked him before I left, can we still continue to work together? I need you. And it was my saving, when I was feeling really down and depressed, I would call him and we had a session where I was like, oh, I'm so lonely. And so there was two parts. There was a part I had achieved my dream. That was amazing. There was a part, but I'm like, it's hard. Sometimes I was feeling down and depressed and all kind of things. It took me a while to, to find people, to connect and all of this kind of thing.
I love that you shared it because it's so honest and authentic and vulnerable. And that's why we're doing those Real Expat Talk to show women from all over the world that it's not always as glamorous as we want it to look like on Instagram, especially. And there are moments that are hard moving abroad. It's a beautiful thing, but there are moments that are hard. And I love that you shared that you had help, that you you seeked for a therapist. Today, this is what Mayan and I are doing. Like we help women from all over the world exactly to overcome those challenges of daily life and to reach a better lifestyle that actually suits them. So you can get help until things get better.
Yeah. I think it's also on the work you do, because if I had that at the time, that would have definitely helped me, you know, to be supported both logistically but also emotionally. So you feel like you are not alone. There is a network of people like having your back. Makes
Yeah.
a huge difference.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. And we're talking a lot here on Smoothie about the importance of having a supportive community around you. And a supportive community around you doesn't mean your best friend, your mom, your sister, and your cousin.
Mm-hmm.
It can be people from all around the world that understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
Because sometimes your best friend doesn't understand because she's still in this village in France and never moved from there.
Yes, exactly. So I so agree with you. People who really get what you are going through and are supportive of your dream, you understand why you want to move abroad, why it's important for you, not people who are wondering, why do you think you really want to do that? And people who know what it is and the challenges. So yeah, so agree with that.
Yeah. So right now you're living in the US for the last, if I don't mistake, 15 years.
Yes, 15 years, yes.
And is it the American dream or how is it for you?
That's interesting. Where are you from, by the way?
I am from France. I'm originally from Israel,
From Israel.
currently living in France.
Okay, got it. I was wondering where you were originally from. Great, because if you knew the US or not. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, yes and no. Now it's been so long that it's hard to tell, but I remember it's interesting because I definitely, when I moved, when I was like San Francisco, oh, that's my dream. Once I achieve that dream, everything is going to be perfect. And you see San Francisco in movies and it suffers like, you know. And so, and when I arrived in San Francisco, I mean, that was really great. But when you live in a, you know, it was not this little dream. When you live in a place, it's like you have to, it's not like when you're on vacation, it's a different feeling. When you're on vacation, you can just, you know, but when you're actually living and working in the country, you also experiment the stressful things of being in the country and the thing, not just the glamorous, you know, like I'm sure in Paris, you know, there is a glamorous tourist thing, but when you live in Paris, it's not the same.
No.
So yeah, definitely, especially I think at the beginning, and what I was saying, you know, was still doing my own internal work. And sometimes we have the image, oh, if I move to this country, everything is going to be solved. All the stuff I've been dealing with internally and in relationships and with my family, that's going to be solved. But no, when you move, you take all your thing with you. So I told you for the first few years, I worked a lot with my therapist and felt quite lonely because I didn't know how to be with myself. Which, you know, when you are already in your own country, if you don't know how to be with yourself, it's kind of difficult. But in another country, if you don't know how to be with yourself, how to take care of yourself, and a lot of stuff, it's even harder. So this, for the first few years, was quite, you know, a journey for me. And having, you know, working again with my therapist and like that. I wish I had known you at the time. You know, it was a while back, so you could have supported me, but that kind of thing. And then after that, also making like-minded connection, you know, people who are like-minded, and people in the US was also like something I had to go through. How can I meet people? And I didn't want to just meet people because I didn't want to be like these people with the people from their own country and then never really get integrated. I'm like, I don't want that. So, which is the easy way to do that, but you are, you know, moving your country to the other country. I didn't do that, so I ended up doing activities there, you know, things I love to do with people. So I was doing climbing and stuff like that, and it's how I met, you know, I made friends, but it took a while for me to actually I wanted to make friends with the country, and this took quite a while for me, especially as I was discovering myself. And now I feel I'm in a good place with all that I've done, because I think for me, when I changed careers, also to have my career more aligned with myself helped a lot. Because when you move and your work is not fully who you are, there is also like, I was able to meet people who had love personal growth, and love doing that kind of stuff and talk about it. And then I was able to meet people like-minded and feel like, oh, I created my own home in this country. This made a huge difference for me.
That's beautiful. And I want to jump on again a couple of things you said and just to emphasize them. So first thing is to understand that things take time.
Mm-hmm.
Like at first you might feel lonely. At first you might feel really like overwhelmed and stressed and challenging. And it takes time for things to fall into place so that you can actually enjoy it. Now you can do certain things to help you, I'll say, fast forward a little bit. Like the work that you've done on yourself, you can do it before your move, you can do it in the beginning, so you can actually reach better results faster, but it takes time. And I think patience is a really important aspect of expat life, because things that we got used to do a certain way and that were super easy for us. You know, you're talking about careers, and I want to get into what you're doing right now, but we are, like, for example, writing a CV in our native language might take us an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on how long. But if you have to do it in another language, it's like 3 days and you're still on it.
Yes. And then they might have a different format, because depending on the country, you know, like in France, I don't know if it's still the case, but in France at the time, maybe is that changed. You could put if you were married, single, if you had kids, all that. In the US, you don't do that, you know, and the CV is more, so it's very different. You know?
Every country is very different. I remember when I had to adapt my CV from the UK to Israel, because I moved from UK to Israel at some point, and I was like, how do you even say the job title in Hebrew? I don't know. And I'm speaking native Hebrew, but the professional language is different. So there are things you need to have patience. That was the key that I want to take from you. And social life, I love that you said it's easy to go and get in touch with French in the US. And for me, Israel is in Paris and Brazilian in the Netherlands. It's harder to get in touch with local people, but it's possible if you attach to it values and hobbies and similar desires, then you find similar people. So it's possible with patience.
Yes, you have to be patient, and it's a process if you really want it. I totally agree with that. And I would say from my experience, and I don't know if that's yours or the people listening, from my experience, it was also not buy into the criticism people from your own countries have about the new culture. So to give you an example, France and the US are very different cultures, you know, in many ways. And you know, when you arrive in new country, sometimes depending also in your mind, like, be critical. And I think it's really important to be gentle with yourself, because it's so different. You're like, this is weird. The way they do it is really weird. I don't get it, you know. And being gentle, as I'm saying that, being gentle, not saying, oh, it's bad, I shouldn't criticize. You know, in your mind, you may be like, because you like, you know, so you arrive and like, yeah, we don't do that like that, you know, a country is kind of weird. And I think it's a normal process as you do that, because you're adjusting to a new way of being. But I think it's important to not, it's why also I was avoiding to be only with French people, because I didn't want to be with French people, stay together and starting criticizing, oh yeah, this is bad about the US, this is bad the way they do it, because I would stay in that mindset and wouldn't never evolved. So for me, it was the fact of going to events with American people from here and stuff like that. Slowly, I went past that initial criticism you can have initially to really go beyond the stereotypes, to really go beyond and what is really amazing about this culture, what I can learn from that. And I'm super proud of myself, because I did that with patience and I took the time. So now I'm able to really appreciate part of this culture and have connection with amazing like-minded people, and even friends here that are from the West, I'm closer to them than I am with some other friends because we have so many
Yeah.
things in common.
Because you also evolved as a person, and I think you touched again on something that I believe is one of the best thing expat people having, and I call yourself a foreigner, a woman of the world, or whatever. We are more open-minded, we're more accepting, we're more curious about life. And if you really touch on to those qualities, if you go all in a new place and be like, ooh, I'm ready to discover, let's see what this place has to offer me, and then decide what to take in. You don't have to become American. You can still stay your own self and become a mix of so many things and take whatever you like. But be curious to discover without the judgment, the prejudgment of, ooh, why are they doing this? Just discover.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Yeah, the mind of, you know, discovery. And I love what you said about not becoming like an American, but how you can bring both cultures. And this takes time, again, patience. But now I'm such a gift because I can see the world with more, you know, more extended. I have, and I take what I love about the American culture and I take what I love about the French culture and I bring them together and I help.
That's beautiful.
You know, I help with my client. I have American who like, you need to know how to relax and take vacations, you know, so I bring my French stuff about it. Yeah, you're working too hard here. And then to my French client, to my French friend, you need to learn to be proud of yourself instead of just keep blaming, thinking, being so self-critical and critical of others, and trust and be more positive about life. So it's really fun because then it expand my capacity to be. And I think this is one of the gifts of having lived in different countries. You can reach different way of being and being so much flexible and open to different way of being in the world.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. So before we finish, tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now and who are you working with? So maybe if someone listening to us, maybe they want to reach out.
Yeah, thank you. So as I said, I work with high achieving professionals or executives. Often they are in their mid-career. They can be a bit younger or older, it depends. And they have achieved some level of success in their careers, but their success is empty or they have lost the passion about the work they do. Or maybe they never had it from in the first place. And they want to really do work that makes a difference in the world and that they're excited about. And I help them discover really the work they are here to do in the world that can use their unique gift and talents so it's easy, they can be themselves in their work, and at the same time they make a difference with the work they do. So yeah, and I help people from all over the world. This is great because also of my multicultural background, I have clients from all over the world, all kinds of cultures, and I love navigating that. And sometimes I actually had clients I worked with beside the intention for their work, they also wanted to move abroad. So when that happened, I help people achieve their dream, mainly career dream, but also the lifestyle that goes with it. So I help one of my clients move from California to Denmark. That was a dream. She's like, Denmark is my thing, and I help her do that while finding the work she wanted to do there. And a client from England was living here and were like, I want to move back to the UK to be closer to my family and also do work I love. So I help her do that too. So that's just a joy of my
That's beautiful. And I'll make sure, first of all, to tag you on this video so everyone can reach out to you. And if you feel like you are in this moment of your career that like you're doing it, you're successful, but it's not that, go and talk to Isabel. Maybe she will be able to help you and to help you fulfill yourself. I think it's beautiful. And so first of all, I want to say thank you. But before I'm gonna let you go, I want to ask you a last question. What advice would you give to a woman who is hesitant? Like she wants to do it, but she's not sure she can to move abroad. What would you tell her?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me just take a moment to feel into that. I would really say trust if it's in your heart, if it's a desire that is in your heart, and keep coming back. Often we have desires that feel, and also envy other people. If you're like, every time you heard someone who moved abroad and like you were like, ah, I wish I was doing that. It's because it's in your heart. So if it's in your heart, you are meant to do it. So trust that it's there, and I would say get support, because it's just one step at a time. You may have fears, you may have doubts. Doesn't mean it's not meant for you, but get the support that you need to move past these doubts and to actually one step at a time. Sometimes it's not like, you don't jump outside. For me, the US, it took one step at a time before, it took me 2 years. It was like one step at a time, getting out of my comfort zone to feel like, oh, I think I can do. Initially, you're going to be like, I don't think I can do. Moving to, oh, I think I can do it by taking baby steps outside your comfort zone and getting support to be able to feel like I can do this, and you are on your path to doing it.
That's amazing. And if you are in this stage of what Isabella just described, then reach out to us. This is what Mayan and I are doing. We're helping you to prepare yourself for your move abroad so that you don't let your doubts and hesitation and limiting beliefs and stress hold you back from having this amazing experience that you deserve. And we really believe everyone deserves at least to experience it once and then decide for themselves if they want to go on a full long life journey like us of expat life or do something else.
Yeah, amen. And I would say, yeah, just if you are listening, you have amazing support. So reach out to Gal, to the two of you. Really reach out. I didn't have that kind of support at the time, and I think it makes everything much easier.
Well, thank you for saying that. And Isabella, it was such a big pleasure to talk to you, and I'm sure we can do amazing other things in the future together. So I cannot wait to see how things will evolve from here. But it was a great pleasure having you with me today.
Me too. It was such a joy. I love starting my days early in the morning. Yeah, I love starting my day like that. So good.
I love ending my Fridays like that, meeting people from all over the world.
That's so good. You have such a great work. Great job.
This is so good. So I wish you an amazing Friday, Isabel. And for all of you listening to us here or catching the replay, thank you for being here with us today. And make sure to follow Isabel as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.